Day 4, Hidden Premise Fallacy. It was time for the first official meeting of the Curiosity Crew. Chris and Tina had completed their homework and were sitting on the red carpet in Chris' room. Chris had shared his notebook and his detective book, and he walked Tina through his observations and learnings. She was suitably impressed, but she observed that he had not analyzed all the arguments that had been made that first day. She showed a book that she had brought with her called Critical Thinking for Kids, and she opened it to a page with the title Logical Fallacies. She proposed that they begin by collecting the arguments they could recall from the initial day, and then systematically examine each one to assess their validity. So they spent a few moments to jot down the arguments that had been mentioned that day. 1. I put out cookies for Santa, and the next morning they were gone. Therefore Santa must have eaten the cookies, and if he ate the cookies, he is real. 2. I wore my new Santa hat, and then I found presents under the tree. Therefore wearing the Santa hat caused Santa to bring gifts. 3. Santa brings gifts to good children at Christmas. I get gifts at Christmas, therefore Santa is real. 4. Santa must be real because only Santa could have left these mysterious gifts under the tree. How do we know they are from Santa? Well, only Santa could have left such magical gifts, so it must be him. 5. If Santa exists, there will be presents under the tree. There are presents under the tree, therefore it must be Santa who brought them. 6. I always wear my lucky holiday sweater on Christmas Eve, and every year Santa delivers gifts. Therefore wearing my lucky sweater causes Santa to bring presents. 7. Every time I write a letter to Santa, I get presents exactly as requested. Therefore writing a letter to Santa causes him to deliver the gifts. 8. I notice that every year when our neighbor puts up a giant inflatable Santa on their lawn, we seem to receive more presents from Santa. Therefore, the presence of the inflatable Santa directly causes Santa to bring more gifts to our house. 9. Santa is real. Look at all the goodwill and joy during the Christmas season. That is what Santa's magic brings about. It being there proves Santa's existence without a doubt. Wow, those were a lot of arguments, but bravely they started with the first one on the list. I put out cookies for Santa, and the next morning they were gone. Therefore Santa must have eaten the cookies, and if he ate the cookies, he is real. Well, stated Tina after nibbling on the end of her pencil, lost in thought for a few minutes, not sure if that argument really proves the point, because Santa's not the only person who could have eaten the cookies. One does not even know they were eaten, one just knows they are gone. Chris agreed, but he pointed out that it was an indication because it's improbable that someone unfamiliar or a complete stranger would have taken or eaten the cookies. The doors are always locked and there's never any sign of a break-in. Moreover, it seems highly unlikely that the adults would consume the cookies, as it would be like stealing from Santa, potentially affecting his act of leaving gifts. Aha, Tina pounced at the last sentence, but you are presupposing Santa's existence in your reasoning. If that assumption is incorrect, who would be more probable candidates to eat the cookies than the adults in the house? They paused for a moment thinking. Wow, Chris verbalized what they were both thinking. This is complex. It implies that if we initiate arguments from different assumptions, we could arrive at entirely different conclusions, even without any logical errors in our reasoning. The discussion might go in circles without going anywhere, and it makes even more important to make these assumptions explicit, to bring focus to the discussions. Tina felt a bit discouraged. Do you think we will even be able to figure it out? Or will the quest end with the conclusion that it is all just a matter of belief? Well, stated Chris, ever the optimist, we are just at the beginning of this quest, and it seems that it is already a great idea that both of us are approaching the topic from different perspectives. That will help us identify hidden presuppositions, and I guess we have learned a valuable lesson to watch out for those. He sighed, admitting, but it really does make it more difficult to find the truth. They paused, feeling a bit daunted, and they decided to call it a day and proceed with the analysis of the arguments the next day. But before closing their first detective club meeting, they added another entry to their book of learnings. In discussions, ask the question, what prepositions is the person basing his arguments on? Try and make the presuppositions explicit. A completely logical reasoning can be rendered false if the presupposition is wrong. So it is important to identify hidden assumptions or beliefs in discussions. A priori. Argument from Logos, starting with a given preset belief, dogma, doctrine, scripture, verse, fact or conclusion, and then searching for any reasonable or reasonable-sounding argument to rationalize, defend, or justify it. Hidden premise fallacy, or the fallacy of suppressed evidence. In this fallacy, crucial assumptions or beliefs are not explicitly stated, leading to a lack of transparency and potentially deceptive reasoning. Here's how it typically works. The arguer starts with a premise or assumption. This premise is essential to the argument but is not disclosed or made transparent. The conclusion is then drawn based on the undisclosed premise. This lack of transparency can mislead the audience or those engaging in the argument because they are not aware of the hidden assumptions that significantly impact the reasoning process. Being clear and transparent about one's presuppositions and beliefs is crucial for open and honest discourse. Failing to disclose these underlying assumptions can undermine the credibility and soundness of an argument.